This lesson is going to introduce us to the coordinate plane. Last year in 5th grade, you learned about the first quadrant, quadrant 1 of the coordinate plane. As 6th graders, you will be learning about all 4 quadrants. So as we work through this lesson, I want you to think about the question that I have on the screen. How do you plot points on a coordinate plane? As always, I want you to start out with the lesson objective, and because we need to know what we're expected to learn as we go through the lesson. I am learning to plot points on a coordinate plane. As we continue through the PowerPoint, I want you to stop and take notes during the lesson. If you have to pause the video, these notes are going to help you when it's time to do your lesson work, so you can go back and look at those for assistance if you've forgotten something. And I also want you to pause the video when I indicate to try it on your own, just as we do in the classroom. I always give you the problem first to see what you know, because sometimes you know more than what you think you do to begin with. You can use a coordinate plane to locate points. A coordinate plane is formed by a horizontal number line called the x-axis and a vertical number line called the y-axis. Each axis includes both positive and negative numbers. We've actually already gone over horizontal and vertical number lines in the classroom. We already know about positive and negative integers. So today we're going to use the coordinate plane to help us understand how to plot those points with those types of integers. And the coordinate plane is divided into 4 sections called quadrants. They are numbered with Roman numerals, and we use a counterclockwise direction to number those. And you'll see that in just a little bit. We'll go a little bit further into the coordinate plane areas. What I want you to think about is what kind of jobs where you would actually need to be able to use coordinate locations to point out on a coordinate plane. As of right now, I'm thinking of an airplane pilot, anyone that has to do navigation, a submarine operator, boats. So think about those types of jobs where you would need to use coordinate planes daily. As you can see from the bottom coordinate plane, I have here the first quadrant, and you can see the Roman numeral 1 there. This is the quadrant you learned about last year in 5th grade. As you can see, when you go on the x-axis, all the numbers are positive, so here's where a positive number would be for x. And then as you go to y, all of those numbers are also positive. Now, earlier I told you that we were going to be going counterclockwise, so that means we're going to go over to the left, and you're going to see a Roman numeral 2. Here, if you're on the horizontal line, the x-axis, you're going to see that all of my numbers are negative numbers, so the signs for the x values in quadrant 2 are going to be negative. All of my y values are positive, so here's going to be the plus sign for the y. We're going to go down to quadrant 3. As you can see here, both x-axis and y-axis are going to be negative numbers. Go over to quadrant 4. Our x-axis becomes positive numbers, and our y will stay negative. So you can look at those values and determine whether or not you're going to have a positive x-axis or a negative x-axis, or a positive y-axis, or a negative y. So let's talk a little bit about our vocabulary for today. An ordered pair of numbers in the form of x and y names a point on a coordinate plane. So always the x value is going to go first, and then the y. I always state that Superman runs, so he's going to run on the x-axis first, and then he's going to jump either up or down on the y-axis. So x always goes first. The first number of the ordered pair is the x-coordinate. It tells you how many units to move to the left or to the right of the origin. Now remember, an origin is where we start from. So we always start at 0, 0. The x value is 0, and the y value is also 0. The second number in the ordered pair is the y-coordinate. It tells how many units to move up or down from the origin. Now remember, you're on a vertical number line, so it's either going to be above 0 or below 0. I would encourage you to go ahead and copy down the box that I have on there where the quadrants and the x coordinate, y coordinate is located. By looking at the x and y coordinates, whether they're negative or positive, you can tell which quadrant contains a given point without seeing it graphed on a coordinate plane. So if you use this table below, anything in quadrant 1, if the x and the y are both positive, then you know it's going to be in quadrant 1. If you're in quadrant 2, if the x value is negative and the y is positive, you know that the values are going to be in quadrant 2. Quadrant 3, both x and y are negative. Quadrant 4, x is positive, y is negative. So points on the x-axis and the y-axis are not in any coordinate. If you've got a value that ends up on the x line or the y, neither of those would end up in a quadrant. To be in a quadrant, you're going to be in the values in between 0 and another number. So make sure that you're aware of that. So let's look at example 1. You're probably going to need to draw a coordinate plane, and you might want to go back to the original example that I had. You're going to plot a -4 and 6 on the coordinate plane, and you're going to label it A. I want you to use ordered pairs to plot your point. Pause the video and try it on your own first before you go forward. Step 1, I want you to use the signs of the coordinates to find the quadrant for point A. Now we noticed that our first number was negative and our y coordinate was positive. So that means that it's going to be in quadrant 2. So we know that point A is going to be located in quadrant 2. What you're going to do is you're going to start at the origin. The origin again is 0, 0. The x coordinate 0 and the y coordinate 0. You're going to go over to the left 4 spaces from 0, which should have you on a -4. And then we're going to proceed on to our next step. So remember, at this point, you should be on -4 on the x-axis. So you're going to move to the left 4 spaces. From the -4 on the x-axis, you're going to find the y-coordinate that matches what we were given in our ordered pair. So our ordered pair was a -4 and 6. So we are currently on a -4 on the x-axis. We're going to move up because we're going to the positive side on the vertical axis to a +6. So you're going to move up 6 units from -4, and you're going to label that point A. As you can see, here's our origin, 0, 0. I went over to a -4, and then I went up 6 spaces to a +6, and I plotted my point and labeled it A. All right, let's go to example 2. Jody used a coordinate grid to map where she planted each type of vegetable. What ordered pair tells where Jody planted lettuce? So at this point, we're looking at lettuce only. So we're going to locate where lettuce is, and we're going to write the ordered pair. I want you to pause the video, try it on your own first, and what your job is for the strategy is to locate the point on the plane and find the coordinates. So you're going to be writing me the ordered pair that would represent where lettuce is planted. Go ahead and pause the video, try it on your own first. For step 1, you're just going to find the lettuce on the coordinate plane. Lettuce lines up with 6 on the x-axis and 4 on the y-axis. So its coordinates are 6 and 4. We need to remember that when we have 2 positive numbers, we're going to be in quadrant 1. So for the solution here, Jody planted lettuce on the ordered pairs 6 and 4. So let's try example 3. It's asking you to plot 5.5 and -3.5 on the coordinate plane. You're going to label the point M. You're going to use the strategy, use ordered pairs to plot a point. I want you to pause the video, try it on your own. So that means you're going to need to draw you a coordinate plane. After you've had the opportunity to do that, I want you to try to plot those points. Look at your signs for the x value and the y value that will give you a hint as to what quadrant you're going to be in. Go ahead and pause your video now, please. All right, for the first step in example 3, you're going to use the signs of the coordinates to find the quadrant for point M. So we know that the coordinates for point M are positive and negative. So point M will be in quadrant 4. You're going to start at the origin, 0, 0. You're going to find the x coordinate for point M. Remember, Superman runs before he jumps, so he's going to stay on the x-axis first, and then he's going to jump to y or jump down on y. The x coordinate is 5 and 5/10. That means that we're not going to be on any particular line. The point will be halfway between 5 and 6 on the x-axis. So for step 3, from 5.5 on the x-axis, find the y coordinate for point M. The y coordinate is a negative 3.5. The point will be halfway between a negative 3 and a negative 4 on the y-axis. Notice that point M is not on any of the grid lines on the coordinate plane. Because we have those half numbers, it's going to be in between. As you can see, we're right here in between. We're between 5 and 6 on the x-axis. We're going to go down in between 3 and a negative 3 and a negative 4, and we're going to mark that as M. We're going to label it as M. So it should be in between. You're not on any of the grid lines in this particular problem. Let's review our learning objective again, or our lesson objective. I'm learning to plot points on a coordinate plane. Remember that you've got some examples that you should have written down. You've got some notes that you took about the quadrants and the values that are in each quadrant. You have 4 quadrants to learn this year. Remember that you're always going to, in ordered pairs, the x value is always going to be first. Keep in mind that Superman runs before he jumps. So he's going to run on the x-axis, whether he's running backwards or forward. He's going to jump on the y-axis up or down. So keep that in mind, that anytime you see an ordered pair, that you're going to have the x value first and then the y. You're going to try some on your own through practice. I'm going to be giving you those on a different menu, so look for those, and good luck. Thanks.